Okay, this has been a dream of mine for a long time. Chris is here from South Florida, drove up. We actually had his Kranzle pressure washer shipped here. My intent longer term is to have like 500 of them on racks so I can look at them. But we have a K1122 TST. This is my complete Kranzle pressure washing package, which he bought. And I asked him, since he's gonna come and pick it up, I said, can we make a video? Let's put it together. You know, my dad and Ted already have these assembled, but I went and grabbed an unassembled one so we can put it on the vise, show you how it goes together. By proxy, we can show the world how we do this. I just hope that all the other companies don't go and copy, and now they know how to do it. It's not that complicated. So what we're going to do is assemble the gun. We'll get this all torqued and assembled, and then we'll break open, unbox your Kranzle for the first time. And I'm going to make you pick that sucker up. It weighs like 85 pounds in the box. We'll put it on the table here and unbox it. But we have to go through a few steps to get this assembled. So let's start with the gun. So we have a bunch of different fittings, and these were all MTM sourced forever. I was telling Chris earlier that we had to find separate suppliers because we'd be buying all of MTM stock. I mean, it sold tens of thousands of fittings. Who would ever thunk that we'd be selling this many fittings? So we had to find other suppliers, and so these are general pump fittings. They're the same thing. They look the same. The knurling's a little bit different. They have a different name on them, but they're basically the same setup. So we're going to use, I like to try to keep them the same, so we're using pretty much all general pump fittings here for this install. So Mosmatic stainless inlet, stainless swivel. This is their claim to fame. Also, the advantage of this is the ball bearings trigger, a little bit different, more stout than the MTM option.
It's smooth as well. It's
very
smooth.
The MTM gun is good, but this is great. So, but it's also $50 more. So you're getting what you pay for.
Yeah. Exactly.
So my mom is a master of taping. Look at that. She even cuts it like flat. Where is it? Yeah, she has this thing licked.
She's got it down.
She cuts it with little scissors and the whole thing. So we'll torque this. So that'll get torqued. We'll make sure to line up these flat spots. Then we'll do this is a 1/4 inch coupler, which will go on the outlet. And then our wand is a little bit more complicated to build. I'm going to tape it. With this tape, we found that 5 wraps tends to work best. Now this I've seen, and what I'll tell you kind of all the pitfalls and all the things that could potentially happen with these. So on the gun, one of the pitfalls, this connection here is pretty bulletproof. We've seen pretty much, I mean, less than 1/10% issues. I mean, I've sold thousands of these, and we see very little issues here, other than the very first. I think it was the second batch. They use a wrong kind of Loctite, and we had some leaking from the gun. But this connection here has been pretty bulletproof. Trigger also super bulletproof. We've had them out in the wild now for several years now, and I haven't seen one come back. The issue is this connection here. So you always want to check inside here, make sure there's an O-ring. So and I'll send you a pack. We send an extra 1/4 inch and an extra 3/8 inch O-ring in the box now, because we've had so many of these. It's hit or miss. These are Chinese.
Yep.
They have ball bearings. The ball bearings are usually pretty good. We have less than 1% failure on the ball bearings, at least initially. What happens is when we make this connection here, it takes a little time for that O-ring to break in, and then sometimes the O-ring shoots out. This is a $132 setup. These are not warranted. I send them, but they're not warranted. I'm sorry. But these are a consumable. It's like your tires. You get a nail in your tire, you have to replace it, right? So that's what can fail on the gun. What can fail on the wand is this connection here. We torque this pretty tightly, and so these cheap, Chinese stainless steel, this will split sometimes. Again, rare, but it does happen. On the outlet here, we're going to have the same fitting, so the same thing can happen. O-ring can pop out. Yep. Now comes the sucky part. So this has to go on here past the nut.
Oh, really?
So my hands are about to hurt. What we do is we boil these, which I'm not going to do right now, but we boil this. We put soap, so I'm going to put some soap on the tip here, and then we take a screwdriver and we pry it past. Then I put this on, torque it, then I got to pull it back. See, so we're gonna muscle that here in a minute.
Got it.
So we've got to do that. Really, there isn't any failure point other than this. You know, again, O-ring, bearings over time. If you know if these fail, then you just buy a couple. They're $6.
Yeah.
You know, buy another one and start over. I've seen some of mine original ones are 5 years old, and some of them lasted 6 weeks, or some of them last 6 days. Who knows? Then we have on the outlet here, we have our quarter inch nozzle. And by the way, these do break in over time, but a lot of times I do need to pull back on it. I know some people see me, mine are really old, and I just put it in there and boom, it pops right in. It's actually an advantage when it's tighter, because then this doesn't spin as much on you. But again, over time, your O-ring's gonna break in, and it's gonna be a little bit sloppier. Another thing to mention, all of these connections, they wobble. They're not that tight a tolerance. Under pressure, it'll lock down. But there is some play in these. Yeah, I'm waiting for Mosmatic to create a high-end option that's more precision, but I suspect that even those will have similar failure rates.
Well, yeah.
I haven't found anybody that makes a M22 to 3/8 coupler other than brass. I don't like brass for this type of connection. Now we're going to put this on the Kranzle gun because you're not going to use that very often. But on the outlet of the Kranzle, we're going to make this connection, or this reducer. So we're going to go M22 to 3/8. We're going to torque this down, and then this will be our connection to our gun. Right? So this is what we'll connect to like so. All right, so let's get set up on the vise here and let's torque some stuff down. Okay, so this is the way we do it. You know, maybe I shouldn't give away all my secrets, but we just take, and these aren't, actually I can't take credit, these aren't my secrets, this is my dad's deal here.
Thanks, Dad.
So I think this is, no, it's not a 1-inch. He knows all these sizes off the top of his head. It's gotta be 24, I think it's a 24 millimeter. Yeah, 24. So we take our 24.
19.
I gotta go get sonic tools here. If I'm gonna be hawking some sonic tools, I should probably start using them. I don't want my dad scratching them. So some threads will be, or a lot of threads will be exposed at the end, but we want to apply quite a bit of torque. So if you ever have to replace this, you either a vise. If you have a vise, that would be helpful. This connection shouldn't be a problem. So there's that, and I believe this is a 22 on the gun. Yep. So yeah. So why don't you do this? You're way more qualified than I am to do all of this stuff. This is even better. So we go 22 to 20. 20. And we always put it so that the letters. They stamp these. Got it. And so it never really works. And so one of the modifications in the future will be to have, again, equal length threads, so that way it goes all the way in. I like to use tape rather than Loctite. The problem is, again, these are consumable and they need to come out. So if you Loctite it, you get a better seal and you don't have to see the tape. But then you got to break it loose, and you just have a higher probability of damage. Okay, so that's our gun. There we go. Now let's do the inlet to our wand, which is, I believe, is 17. Yeah, so throw the 17 in the vise, and then 17 and 18. So this one, not quite as much torque, because again, this is the one that we can split.
Got it.
Just get the flats lined up, and I'm assuming you're a flats lined up kind of guy too.
Yeah. Very much so.
All right, so now
that end's done.
This is the part that sucks.
This is gonna be the fun part.
So we got to take this. Okay, so put a little soap on this and on that, and then.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be fun.
This is the part where again heat makes a big difference. Do this again. When they heat it up, my dad has this down to a science, but there we go. All right. So that's how you do that.
There it is.
And then
we
put this on. So I believe this is a 20. Yep, so throw the 20 in there and torque that sucker down.
Got it.
You can tell I don't do a lot of work around here. did I scratch my screwdriver? That's what matters.
No, I don't think you did you?
Oh, clean. We're good. We're good. Life is okay. So this wand is the tricky part. You know, lots of people have, you know, because I sell a wand for like $50 or something like that. I mean, that's the retail price of it. And so people always try to go and get it because there's some online places that have these suckers for less.
Okay.
Yeah, turn it the other way. And then torque this way, and that way it'll kick against the end.
Yeah, I got you.
But there are like 280 different variants of this wand. So this one doesn't matter if it's lined up because you can't see them.
No, you can't see them.
So just get that to the proper torque, and then we'll pull the. So then, just take that sucker and heave ho on it. So yank it over that. This is where the new design will have a little different setup.
Oh, this is no joke, is it? You did the hard part too.
Don't let it beat you.
Yes.
I think my dad does hundreds of these.
All right, Dad.
There you go.
Look at that.
So that's why he heats them, because then it softens them up. So there's our wand. So here's how it works. So we have this torqued, torqued, all lined up flat. And there's what our assembly looks like. You will have a little play. Again, we'll lose that play when it's under pressure. And we take our nozzle, we can choose to put it here. All right. And we can choose to swap real quickly.
Snub nose.
Again, these will be a little stiffer. Stiffer's better, actually. And then we have our gun. So we have a 0 degree, and these are like $16.
Yep.
A 25 degree and a 15 degree. And you can always tell the size. So if you ever lose one of these and you're looking for a new nozzle, you can always tell the size. See, it says 15,
Yep.
040.
Got it.
So that's the 15 degree 4.0 size. The pressure washer is rated at 2.1 gallons per minute, 1400 PSI. Right, the gauge reads 1500 PSI when we turn it on.
Got it.
Somewhere between 1100 and 1500 PSI, depending on how that gauge was calibrated. It usually says 1500 PSI. Okay, I'll let you open it and I'll video you since it's your pressure washer. I don't want to steal your joy. I haven't opened one of these in a long time.
How does it come out, Matt? Will it just slide right out this
Well,
way?
there's a box inside of a box.
Oh, okay,
so,
gotcha.
and I don't even know how they package these, to be honest with you. It's been years since I've gotten mine, and I drop ship these, so I haven't opened one in a long time. So these weigh, I think the listed weight is 80 pounds. So with all the boxing, you know, we're around 100.
Yep, feels like it.
You can see they put the fragile signs all over it. These will come sometimes FedEx, sometimes UPS, just depends. What Kranzle does a lot of times is they split it up because I sell so many of them a day that the local UPS guy can only take so many of them. And we're still doing this mom and pop style. So interesting thing on these is this is the same machine as the K1152. And so I'm surprised I don't get contacted as much because see how it says the sticker on the side says 1122, but it's 1152 box. The 1152 is the European version, the 230 volt or 200. Yeah, so this is the 60 hertz, 110 volt. So what Kranzle USA does for us is they source a GFI 110 volt power cord. They also have Kranzle Spec, the right size capacitor. Back for there was a short stint where we had the wrong size capacitor in them for one batch, but these they only make one box, the 1152.
Yep.
And my suggestion, it's up to you. If you have a place in your attic, keep the box.
Oh, I will.
I didn't keep the box to mine, but I never had a problem with mine. Very rarely do we have a problem. This is the reason why I feel comfortable selling these. I mean, you see, this is it. I don't have infrastructure to be like supporting returns and fixing these all the time. Right. And so, at least I don't yet. And so I want a machine that I know is going to have a very, very low failure rate. So these suckers, if it is, let's hope it's not damaged in the box. Maybe 1 or 2% of them, you know, occasionally the UPS punts them off the back of the truck. Yeah. But this one looks like it got here intact. So hopefully we're good. So first thing you'll notice, and this makes people panic, There are always, and we've yelled at Kranzle about this, when it comes out of the mold, there are these kind of mold stress marks on it. And then this is the way they come. And I've yelled and kicked and screamed, but this is just how they do it.
If it works.
Yeah. So hopefully we don't have any cracking.
No,
there's almost always rubbing on these cases. You're gonna, I guess their philosophy is, and again, I've talked about that. You're gonna be banging this on here when you're messing with it. You know, when you're using the thing. It like here's the mold that I'm talking about here. How it comes out of the mold. Kranzle said there's not much they can do about that. So everything looks good.
Matt, how's the maintenance been on these things? Do you know what the interval is on oil changes?
It's 50 hours and then that's it.
Got it.
50 hours and then supposedly never again.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know that I would do that, but that's what I've done on mine. And actually I changed mine at like 150 hours just because I was just, screw it.
Yeah.
And they're pretty bulletproof. All right, so here's the OE gun. OE wands. One is a turbo nozzle. And the other is so this is a regular, and then this is a turbo nozzle.
That's your adjustable fan nozzle, I believe.
Correct,
Right?
yep.
Yeah, it is. And then that one's more like a rosebud sort of thing.
Yep. This one you'll never use, but they have it. There it is.
That.
I'm gonna say. So this is the turbo nozzle. This is what you'll use to clean up the deck.
Yeah.
Ridiculous power cord. Super stout.
Ridiculous.
See, this always bothers me
Hey,
when they let that happen.
Yeah.
We've tried so many different options, so many different ways, but when it comes over from Germany, but here's the thing, you're going to be jamming this in there the whole time.
Yeah.
I hate that. Good, our hose reel, good. What we have noticed is sometimes when they punt it, this will crack.
Yeah.
We're solid, everything looks clean. Good, good. So that's what you want to inspect. Make sure that this isn't cracked inside here. And everything's good. Now, this hose, this is a chemical injection hose. Looks like they've
tested it.
Yep. So it almost looks like oil, but I guess it's water. So we just pull this off.
Is their oil clear?
Yes. So if you see water in it, it's not been used. They run these.
Yeah, they test them.
And then here's your gauge. Now this is an oil gauge. When you lay it on its back, sometimes you'll see a bubble in here. That's okay. I thought my gauge was ruined when I first got it. I didn't realize it's an oiled gauge.
Yeah,
and so sometimes there's a glycerin air bubble in there. Sometimes there isn't. Here's our pressure switch. This is where we change our oil.
Got it.
On off, obviously.
And this is the auto on-off bit there. Yep.
So then, now we need to assemble it, right? And so the only thing that really needs to be done, so we have to torque this, but this goes in there. All right, so we need to assemble,
Here.
yes, we need to assemble that piece. So now we're showing you all this process, but we send these assembled. All right, so I'm showing you how we put it together.
This is behind the scenes.
Yeah. So the gun, the wand, we got to get a foam cannon too. Did you have a foam cannon?
Yep.
Okay. So the gun, wand, the foam cannon, we send them assembled. This piece is assembled, but I just wanted to show everybody how we do this.
I do have my own foam cannon, but I'm getting a new one from you.
What we don't assemble is this. The Kranzle comes from them direct, and then you get another box from us. I've found a few companies that make this in stainless, this reducer, but it's like 22 bucks. And my philosophy here is this piece is $3. You don't really see it. And this is brass here. So brass to brass, and then we make the stainless connection. And that goes there. Then this goes on
There.
our outlet. And now this can accept both types of 3/8 connections for both the OE, Kranzle, and the Mosmatic setup.
Perfect.
And so let's set up our Kranzle gun here.
Perfect.
So this one, these connections don't need to be taped because it has an O-ring.
Yep.
So technically this here doesn't need to be taped, but because we're only hand tightening that, I like to tape it. So then we can come and connect just like so. All right, so we're good for this. And then to make this clean, we take and put the 3/8 inch by M22 coupler on the end of the gun here. So these are also hand tighten. You know, the M22 connection is a superior connection. And so this is why we do short gun. This is the way I wash my car for the first however many years. Pretty actually with this one, with the fan.
Wow.
Right? Look at how gnarly that is, dude. So this is why I was always using a hose to wash, to rinse.
Yeah.
I was sheeting.
Yep.
And so my old videos back in the day before I got the short gun, and the other, and I did wheels with a hose because this just wasn't reasonable.
Right.
Because a short gun wasn't a thing. So there's that, which is great for your cleaning your deck.
Yeah.
So we have the bent.
Perfect.
So you're talking, this is like 3 times the weight as well. I mean, that's a pretty significant
extra
difference.
2 foot on it.
Yeah, I mean, look. And then the weight of this versus
It's crazy. It's wild because all the
just-
weight's at the end too. It
Right.
just wants to pull it out of your hand.
And then I can go right to short gun, which a lot of people like to wash just like this.
Yeah.
Now, when I send this as a package, I send this with brass. They make these in stainless. I sell them in stainless. I like brass because it makes sense. Brass, brass,
Brass.
brass, right? So we screw this on the inlet, and then we have our 6.5, either 6.5, 12 feet, or 20 feet are the sizes that I have. And these screw in like that. And then you would put the other coupler on your hose bib, so you would then connect. And these hoses are ridiculous. And I had these with the swivel, but this,
That's where
even under pressure, still swivels.
Okay.
So it was this redundant swivel since they're using quick disconnect. So I would have occasionally the swivels would leak. Out of 3 out of 10 hoses, I'd have a leaking swivel. So I'm like, screw that. Let's do I think one of these things, a ferrule. Let's do a crimp connected ferrule that's more stout and we'll have less issues longer term. And so that's how we have the inlet hose set up. We do have to set up your foam cannon, so let's set up that as well, and then we'll have a complete system.
Great.
So then I'll generally take this. By the way, this has to be laid on its back to use. The reason for that is these don't have an oil pump. And so if you use it standing up, you're literally going to blow up the motor. And all the oil sits on the bottom. So the way that it oils, I guess there's probably a little, I don't know.
Splash lubrication. It's not an oil pump.
There you go. You would know more than I do. So then this sits here. This is one thing I haven't, like at some point in the future, I would like to design this so that there's some sort of stay or clip. Kranzle's reluctant because they think their gun is amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm technically modifying this setup.
Well, you can wash anything you want from 10 feet away.
Yeah, it took me a while to, they're like, well, why don't you just use our gun? I said, well, your gun's good, but this is great. I want great. You have a great pump. Just, and so it took me a while to convince them to allow me to do this. So now we have the foam cannon. There's a couple of little tweaks here that we make to this. So this comes with the foam cannon. We throw these out. Comes with a straw. Comes with this. And comes with this. Will be very, very bad for this pressure washer. This is the now very common knowledge, it wasn't common knowledge too long ago, but this is a 1.1 millimeter orifice nozzle. This comes with, you can see it in there, this comes with a 1.25 millimeter orifice nozzle. 1.25 millimeters is pushing the limits already on this machine. You're gonna need dedicated 20 amp. If you use 1.25, you have a newer house, so you probably wouldn't have an issue, but you would need like a clean, dedicated only 15 amp. And even then at times, when it's hot out or whatever, and there's people, with all their air conditioners on, this will go into protection. So you really want to go 20 amp. Okay. So we grab a new stainless quarter. When you buy a Kranzle package, we pre-install these. When you buy just the foam cannon, we don't, because when you buy just the foam cannon, we leave the 1.1 in there, and you have the 1. So the 1.25 comes loaded. 1.1 is in the box. We take the plug, put it in with the 1.1 because we don't know which one you're going to want, and we don't want to torque this down because we find that most people who have a entry-level pressure washer usually have an entry-level set of tools. And so if that's the case, then have a hard time, because we torque these pretty tightly so it doesn't leak. And so then we've found that people end up having to send them back to us because they can't get this off. You could get it off, but if you're just starting out, you're in an apartment, you don't have a vise or you don't have a nice table, you don't want to be on your kitchen counter trying to get this thing off, right? So foam cannons, I don't even know why it has a darn setting on the thing. You just run it wide open at all times. It's almost not even worth having it. I guess I don't think these were designed for washing cars. I think they were designed for something else. With a foam cannon, I always twist this way with the bottle rather than with the metal. So if you twist with the bottle, you're gonna have less chance of jacking up the threads. So again, this comes pre-assembled. The hose doesn't need tape, so we don't, I don't know if my dad tapes these anymore. I don't think we tape the hoses anymore. I told him not to. There's an O-ring, so it really doesn't need to be taped. You could tape it if you want. We don't send it with a roll of tape anymore because this is already done. And it was just, people were getting confused. And so we don't send it with a roll of tape. So this comes assembled like so. The foam cannon comes assembled like so. The hose that you choose comes assembled like so. All you have to do is screw this in and screw that plug in, screw the coupler on the end of your hose at home, and you're good to go.
Done.
We can do any kind of custom configuration. Let's say like you already had this, so I just set up a custom option for you. And then of course you have your little nozzles. Like at some point I'd like to have it where we have it on the front or something someday, but that's the K1322 or 1122. Oh, this is a handle. You'd mount the handle on the side, so that's the other assembly you need to do. It comes with little instructions, and then this is a stay for your power cord. So these get screwed in as well.
On the regulator for the pressure washer itself, you run that wide open as well?
Yeah. So this that's a good question. So this comes set up, ready. You don't have to mess with it.
Okay.
And so I've said this wrong many times. It's all the way in. Yeah, so all the way torqued, all the way tightened, righty-tighty, means that your unloader valve is wide open. Okay. When you loosen it, I think I may have spoken incorrectly, when you go loose, then it reduces pressure. This will not give you a reading, even when it's underwater. It won't give you a reading unless you have the trigger pulled.
Got it.
And then some of these I've seen, it just depends on how this is calculated and calibrated. The pressure's the same regardless of what you're getting out of the tip. Some of these sometimes will read 1100, 1150, sometimes they read 1400. I think it depends on the engineer that calibrated it. Most of the time it'll read 1400 no matter what the nozzle you put on the end. And a lot of times I end up just doing this. Yeah. So that's the 1122. Sweet.
Love it. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, brother. Thanks for coming up. What happens when the force pulls you back, your foot naturally comes off the gas. You have to keep your foot to the floor, foot to the floor.